it's action surge! Oh, it's happening right now. Roll your dice. Have your dreams. Don't worry about a thing.
Oh my gosh.
So
There is only worry.
a big old session in a lot of ways.
Terrifying.
Can I know it was a tough fight, but I have some wonderful news for you all. When you long rest, you're now going to be level 5. So that means 2 attacks, 2 regular attacks plus a bonus attack. So you can attack 3 times on one turn.
Yes.
You spellcasters will get access to 3rd level spell. I don't know if proficiency bonus goes up. What does a rogue get on level 5?
More hiding.
More goggles!
You get uncanny dodge, which is what she was using actually, which is when an attacker hits you with an attack you can see, you can use your reaction to halve the attack's damage against you. And it doesn't say melee attack or ranged attack. It just says attack.
So someone could literally fire an arrow at me, and if I see it...
An arrow, a spell. You can just halve the damage. So we began in the aftermath of the fire.
Yeah.
I so
Oh my gosh, that
wanted
was
to-
then.
Yeah, that was this session. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Jeez,
Doug.
yeah.
I really wanted to use my cat form to terrorize that guard, even though Kel didn't know that Dolly had done that to him, but Doug did.
To be fair, she wasn't reacting to your cat form. She was reacting to the fact that I had done a minor illusion, silent
image.
of a
Silent
cat.
image, yeah.
Yeah.
What I really liked about that as well is this guy now has a very specific fear of a slightly larger than normal black
Yeah,
cat.
it's like-
So if he were to see something that's actually a really fucking big black cat, he'd still be like, it's all right, it's not slightly larger.
He's not-
if it were a bit
it's
not like
smaller...
Not scared of a panther.
No, exactly.
No, he's just
Exactly.
scared of a
It's
slightly-
He's like,
like
you know
a-
what?
It's a
Yeah.
large cat.
Yeah, but it's slightly larger. That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
And we had you've discovered the thing that's in the last building that never came up, which was you had some sturges eating a
You had
pigeon.
some solo combat.
Yeah, a little bit of
Exciting.
solo combat.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't challenge rating 1/8 and had 2 HP each, but they were.
But not the point.
It was the sort of thing. So when we all go all the way back to the burning of the buildings, it was like I was trying to find things that could either derail you or cause more commotion. What I didn't think you were going to do, and I know this is a different session, I didn't think you were just going to start burning buildings. I thought you were going to investigate everything, go in everywhere,
We weren't.
and then start burning buildings.
Did it
And then
work out in our favor?
Dolly got humiliated by garden furniture and immediately set fire to everything.
It's like, you know what?
Beat it by a stupid trellis. Like,
Burn it all to the ground.
I did, didn't I?
But yeah, so we had a little bit of
They did some damage to me though. Yeah, the
Yeah.
challenge rating won,
and
but
they
none
do
of
a
us
little
knew
bit of
that it
damage.
happened
Yeah.
either.
I really so to give you some flavour, I really wanted to reintroduce the cards a little bit, and I thought after the last session it would be really interesting if the cards really reacted to Gronor's death. So that's in my mind what they were when they were beating really painfully. Is Gronoth just like going?
I'm sure we'll get to it, but I thought you were going to use them.
I
So
fully
did
thought you
I
were
was. I 100% was. It's like
so
you had.
did I.
If you hadn't used Healing Word, I would have used them on Dolly immediately. Like,
So we probably shouldn't reveal too much about how these cards. Well, no, I think we did the Kickstarter thing about how those cards work. But I think it's kind of more, there will may well be people listening along who don't know about the Kickstarter thing. So if you want to know about functionally how this deck of cards works, you can go back and watch that. But I think we should probably stay. It would probably be more exciting for people to find out.
but that was the plan. Was as you kept telling, every time someone went down, I was like, oh, they're there. It was going to as soon as Dolly had. I thought if she hadn't grabbed your, I would have used them on. Well, it would have happened once you'd done your death save. But it didn't. So congrats.
Really animal.
But there will be a time for it that I think will
Absolutely.
be really, really appropriate.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're a powerful thing.
They are, and I really liked. This is masochistic. I really like Radiant being really weak at stuff because he's just going to take big risks. And you guys were so nice with giving me so many like healing potions and caring for me when I really didn't think that was a thing. Like I really thought that you would go for I with that, but I kept being topped up with everyone being really nice.
Tribe.
I know, but it doesn't feel it. And so I really enjoyed the firing the stuff and then getting hit back and then being, going in with that complete confidence, kind of looking like a badass, overdoing it with the, they're very weak, but, doing that really cool thing and then essentially blowing himself up.
That was fun, because that was something where I was like, gosh, how does this work? And I think that is, if we've already established that canonically you can't bury these things, you can't, you've tried burning them, you've tried doing everything to them, and they don't disappear, then they've got essentially, I guess what they have, and this was on the fly, so the mechanics would have been all wrong, but there's something called a Tarrasque that has something called an anti-magic carapace, which reflects spells back at the caster. So it's kind of that they are, that if you try and do magic, if you try and hit it with a spell, it will just hit you back with the spell.
I'm really excited to see if there's a time where it pulls them out and uses them to throw them in the air to reflect a spell back at someone.
A Tarrasque is one of the highest challenge rating
Tarrasque is one of that. Yeah, it's like no. Is
all
it challenge rating 24 a Tarrasque?
like
I think something.
You don't
like
want to fight
that.
one.
But yes, there was the fire on the top of the crest is where we started. It does feel like
Oh wow.
a long time ago.
I hate to bring this up, but we don't even know what the cards do.
No, we don't.
No.
So we can't strategically whack them out, can we?
But do you?
I mean, I think there's a certain. By the way, a Tarrasque is challenge rating 30. I think the there is a tiny bit of metagaming that goes on here. I think necessarily because if none of you know what it does, and we play that as characters, you'd never use it, and therefore we would never use this cool magic item that was part of our Kickstarter campaign. So I think there's a level at which I think Radian knows the cards are really powerful. You've had multiple people. You've had Dolly tell you. You've had Graunoth tell you that there is great magic there. And so I think Radian would understand at this point that there is great magical power contained within the cards. And I think that is enough to try and use them in a speculative way without really knowing what they do. And then mechanically, once you know what they do, you'll know what they do in game. I think that's probably how we handle it, because otherwise we create something cool and then ring fence it.
Yeah. I have an idea of how it would work.
What do you mean?
Why Radian would pull the card when he would pull the card.
I'd love to talk to you about that off mic then, because otherwise I
No, I was never going to say it.
Yeah.
No, but I thought I'd bring it up. Like I've got an idea of how it would work, and again, we will talk off camera about how that might manifest. But I think I've got a cool way of doing it.
Okay.
But it might not be. I'm like, no, Ben, that's not cool. But it's an interesting conceit. Like I think maybe as we get further on and you run out of spells and. It will be interesting to see when we get down to it. I genuinely thought they were going to come out today. I thought we were absolutely on the back foot.
I have them ready. I actually have them ready, which I don't normally have. Normally they're just sort of under a set. And I made the point of actually going through. I've shuffled them as well. So
She had a lot less health than I thought, because I really, really thought that.
I thought it was imminent.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Who had a lot less health than you thought?
Medea.
Medea.
This is the thing, though. I beefed her up a bit so she is, the basic use of her is she's an ambitious assassin. But I've changed her a bit. I've given her the ability to teleport, and I changed her layer actions. So the way that these kind of boss fights work, essentially it all comes down to action economy. If she can only even if she had 4 attacks, but she can only take them on her turn, it's much less useful than her being able to take 2 attacks on her turn, and she can use legendary. So she has 3 legendary actions per round. It costs 1 for her to escape non-magical restraints, end the grappled condition, and move up to its speed without provoking opportunity attacks. So that's how she was bouncing around and not provoking opportunity attacks. It costs 2 actions to stab once with her blade, and it costs 3 actions to do this thing called Vanishing Escape. The assassin creates a sudden distraction, such as a cloud of disorientating smoke or a flash of dazzling light, filling a 10-foot cube within 5 feet. Each creature of the assassin's choice in that area takes 2d8 psychic damage, and the assassin has the invisible condition. Now, what I chose to do was also add that she could sort of teleport 15 feet doing that. So it's like a kind of, almost like a misty step, but she has invisibility, which is very powerful, but I thought I needed something to level the playing field.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just all of us wailing on.
Yeah, and then her layer actions as written were she creates a distraction, and she can choose each time. She could either create a distraction everyone sees because it has to take a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or lose concentration. She has hidden snares, which makes people grappled, and there are traps
We
where
didn't run
you get
into any
struck.
of those.
No, because I didn't think she would have been able to do that.
No.
I thought it was more fun to have her having these potions that
potions
she
were
gradually
so
stockpiled.
Potion was a cool,
So
like,
fun.
that was...
And so what I had a D6, and once she'd used, so on 1 and a 2, she could use her. I don't know if did she ever use it? She must have done. On a 1 and a 2, on a 3 and a 4, she used her dominate person thing, which was really really fun. And on 5 and a 6, she used her. Oh, I can't remember actually what they were. Fire breathing. And then the poison one was the first one was on a 1 and a 2. And I had this sort of little rule for myself that if she rolled the same thing as she'd previously rolled, she couldn't use it until she'd used up all of the potions. So her lair actions were more powerful.
But they dwindled.
But they dwindled, and then they'd only reset once she'd used all 3 of them. Now, I guess we then get into a realism thing where technically she'd have more of those potions on her. She doesn't. Like, you can't get all the fun shit off everybody all the time. Do you know what I mean?
I have a question. What would have happened had one of us tried to rip her coat off her and take away the potions?
She would have started. I would have. You wouldn't have got the potions. Because a lair action, technically, I'm flavouring it like it's tied to her and she's doing something.
Yeah.
Actually, a lair action is something that just happened. It's a terrain effect.
Cool.
And so for the action economy, I need to keep a terrain effect in there. So I guess what I probably would have done is had her pull other random potions off the shelves, but made them different to the ones that you could get, because I need to keep having giving her a little bit of control.
Yeah.
So she had certain things that were more powerful but harder to use, and she had various bits and bobs.
It's interesting, isn't it, that we want to start at the beginning, but really 2 hours of that, or however long, most of that episode was just us in that room trying to unpack the puzzle that was whatever it is that was happening to us. You quite rightly said, Holly, we spent a lot of time just on the defensive, just trying to figure out what
we were
she
not
does.
and that was my biggest worry, was like, well, if someone's this strong, usually that comes with a lot of HP. And the reality is we've not even made a scratch because we're just picking each other up every time we go down, or just
I think a lot of
through.
that is mind games as well, because of how well Harry set her up to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
terrifying. Like, we knew how, like...
She's what I don't want to do too much is get into a place where when they're at really low HP, I'll start kind of giving you clues. But otherwise, like the point of D&D actually is that you don't have a health bar, and therefore you just have to keep giving it everything you've got until they're dead. And I am sort of loath to what generally speaking will happen is if someone is that maneuverable and can do big damage, they probably don't also have 200 HP. Because it's not fun. High AC is not fun. So her AC was 16, which is similar to yours.
It's the same as mine,
You know, it's not crazy. You've all got at least a +6 to hit, all of you. So all you need to do is roll a 10. So you should be hitting at least 50% of the time, because not hitting sucks. So you don't want to stack the AC too high. But yeah, I think we ended up doing, I don't know how many rounds we did, maybe 5 rounds of combat, which is quite a lot. But 10-round combats, they're for like the end of everything.
Yeah.
Because it's just, otherwise it's just kind of hard to keep the energy.
Just so conscious that you guys have burnt through spell slots. We had all used our potions. I think I was on 9 HP before you used Shillelagh and took her down. She had Shillelagh. If she had hit me, there would have been no way to bring me back up. You had used...
No, I still had one.
You had one left. Oh, you had one left. Okay.
But also what you can do is you can always stabilize someone. So you can roll a medicine check to prevent them from actually dying. And then you can try and find help or find healing.
Would have been first
We're
thing
in
would
a
have been
room
searching
full
the
of-
apothecary for anything.
Yeah, but you're drinking stuff without even checking
That
what
was
it
great.
is.
I was so,
Yeah, no, I was saying that was
was good.
mid-combat. I was
I
saying
enjoyed
once you're stabilized, I'm saying if we beat her, it's then running around and searching everything we did.
But if you're stabilizing someone, you're not attacking.
No, but they could have stabilized you
But
after
what I'm
the
saying
fact.
is, if she is ripping through people at such a pace,
Yeah.
well, you're falling, and anyone who is up on a healing ward, which is what D4 plus 4. Yeah. She's hitting you all. If you're not able to mitigate, she's hitting into the double digits.
Yeah.
It's only a couple more before it starts to become unsustainable for us as a team.
We were on the back foot massively because of Dolly being...
that was the fun thing. That was also a way of me going, what's the action? How can I change the action economy in my favour? Yeah. Because now it's 2 people fighting 4 people rather than 5 people fighting 1.
Really don't want to kill.
Yeah. Also, it caused Dolly again to rip through spell slots because, like you said, the job was to kill them. So for you, that's the best I have in my arsenal.
Yeah.
So even when we did get Dolly back, you get Dolly back
at less.
Yeah. You know, she can't do as much. We've burnt through it.
That was such a great save for you to make on the Dominate Person because this is a 5th level spell, Dominate Person. And you know when you said, when can I repeat the saving throw? Yeah. I'll read you the text. You attempt to beguile a humanoid. If it succeeds on a wisdom saving throw, it succeeds on the wisdom saving throw or is charmed by you for the duration. When the target is charmed, you have a telepathic link with it as long as you're on the same plane of existence. You can use this telepathic link to issue commands while you are conscious, no action required.
That's pretty nope, you don't get
and
any
it doesn't and it doesn't require. It says specifically in the
it doesn't require concentration.
It says specifically in the scroll in the potion that it doesn't require concentration. Each time the target takes damage, it makes a new wisdom saving throw. But it doesn't say anything about repeating it on the end of its turn, which typically, certainly with lower level spells, if it's like the poison one. The poison one is annoying because it gives you disadvantage on everything. But that starts at 2d6, and if you succeed, it goes down to 1d6, and then if you succeed, it goes down to 0 and you're no longer poisoned. But that Dominate Person, there's no opportunity for her to repeat the save. So the only way that it was going to happen is if one of you hurt her. And you smashing her face into a potion is a really lovely way of doing it.
I love the irony as well and she gets a full hit. She's already fully maxed out.
Well, I mean, technically you wouldn't have been because you would have just had your face smashed into a potion. But
true,
You were at least -6.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I would have been brought back. That's fine. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. When I picked up the book for the first time and held it over
that was really smart.
It was great.
But as well, I was like, yes. And then she just vanished and took it. I was like,
No, but it was great instinct because I actually had completely forgotten about the book at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that was when you started to burn the book. I was like, oh, and you were like, why has it got HP? Why has it got HP? And it's, I think, probably because if the book just disappears, if the book is immediately gone, you know,
we wouldn't have had that context.
You wouldn't have had that context, and I think actually you guys kind of needed to know some of what was in the book. You didn't need to read the whole thing. Yeah. You did, but you didn't need to read the whole thing.
But also, if it's fully gone immediately, then for her it's like, oh, okay, it's gone, so now there's nothing holding me back there. But if you could still have it with HP, it's still got some leverage.
Yes, I think what I was going to do HP, and then I was like, actually, if it spends 3 rounds in the fire, then it's gone. And you're gradually losing information on each round that it's in there. But it was really fun. It was really imaginative. Like, that felt to me like a combination of the fights you had with the group in the forest, which was very sort of hidey, and although we didn't have mini
and quite fast moving as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it did actually, even though it was 5 rounds.
And then also the fight with Jasmine, where you started out trying not to have a fight.
I think we all knew where it was going, but I think we were trying to get a read, or at least get to more advantageous positioning.
And also,
circling her like fucking vultures.
Yeah, I think as well, the other thing from this whole encounter now that we've lost is who was the person who told her? Was it just straight from the web? Was this something else entirely? Her order to go and kill Gronoth? Was it just something that she wanted to do of her own volition? We've lost any of that context. And I think at the beginning there was almost a sense of, okay, if there's some sort of information we can glean from her.
Not necessarily lost. We just might need to.
Dolly might know it.
Some other way.
You've still not had a conversation about the conversation that happened.
Really wanted to at the end, but I was like, we should probably rest first.
Yeah, that's what the fire's for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll get there. But
and we would have asked Radiant to leave.
Yeah. I feel so bad for Casper and Gruff.
Yeah, Goff. Just
Goff
the people's favorite. Just the people's champion. Goff. Everyone loves him. Everyone knows his name. Everyone remembers him.
Why do people care about these people so much? Like, who are they? Just
because you were mean to them.
Well, no, they weren't nice to us. They were fine.
They were.
I had a conversation with Casper.
They were very nice. They let us
quite pleasant.
They brought us into their
They were
thing.
members of the web. They were doing their job.
We're members of the web.
Yeah,
too.
we are. We don't do things now. Like I don't. Yeah, no, I'm good. We're not good people. We're not good people. These are
I don't think
not
anyone
good
thinks
people.
we're good people. I think we're just doing what we have to do.
No, I don't care. I don't care about their death. I don't have any emotional reaction to their death.
But did you have an are you talking about Ben or are you talking about Radiant at this point?
Radiant, sorry.
Right. But like, how did Radiant feel about Gronoff's death?
A big time.
Right.
It's terrifying because doesn't really care about things, and I think hasn't really been emotionally conscious enough as far as he can remember to have that reaction to something because he doesn't really get attached to stuff. Two things: Gronoff's death, and then also the thought of again he wasn't thinking of Dolly's basically unconscious and having her thing about to be cut off. That wasn't even a thought, and so he just ran and did that. But yeah, it doesn't care. Though he. Well, no, because I think it would be in keeping with what he would do. And perfectly happy to take the damage. It was cool, but at least it means that like the attention would be on him. But also is happy to kind of like stamp on Casper's face. He doesn't like Casper.
I stabbed you.
Pardon?
Dolly stabbed you.
Yeah,
You're still like,
yeah. It's kind of what I mean. Emotional whiplash is his favorite thing. But yeah, I think he doesn't care about these people.
I think I hated how quickly we had to leave Gornoff behind. Like it really felt like we had to slam that close real quick. And I think
I didn't expect you to do that.
No, I was quite deliberating about it in my head, and I was like, this feels awful. Like I think even in Delian really quite liked Gornoff as well, and I didn't like. I really felt like it was the right thing to do. But I didn't like it.
I just felt like that's not a place where we need to be.
No, exactly. And I agree. I think with all those guards coming, everything else, it doesn't look good.
It's what Dolly would have done.
Totally agree that, like, as a team, getting the hell out of there, because at the end of the day, the job was done, and whether I like Gornoff or not, the job was set by the web, and we did do it. One more on the thing we have to cross off.
Weirdly, it's like one mission that we've done really well.
Yes, but it wasn't a nice feeling not being able to mourn in any way.
Yeah.
But then also we put ourselves, I had put myself in a position with Brynhilda where I really shouldn't be hanging around.
True. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I was thinking about that a lot in between sessions. I don't know if I should talk about this, about what Brynhilda would have been thinking.
Well, we might.
Yeah. I mean,
I got kind of like
save in case we.
But she's also on the suggestion.
So like I feel like she would have just been absolutely heartbroken. Like because that's the kind of vibe I got is that Brynhilda took a great deal of pride in the fact that she was the captain of Gornoff's guards. But so not only she failed a job, but that meant that someone she loves in any sort of capacity is now dead.
Yeah.
So I think it's harrowing. But then it's whether or not does that put her on a path of vengeance? And we were found with the fires, and if there hadn't been fire, he wouldn't have come out. And
I mean, emotionally frustrating, but narratively quite, again, I say a lot satisfying, just like leaving the body there. Well, I thought we were going to help him. I thought we were going to take him somewhere safe, take a hay hut. Because we had an excuse. There was no, and again, this is just from Radiant's experience, we'd kind of covered our bases. Like, there was nothing implicating us here. There was utter chaos. There was no evidence that we burnt any of these things down. We had the fact that, like, we'd already told Brynhilda that, like, Vim had said he was going to burn it all down. We could have gone.
What happens when they find him and then?
But it doesn't matter because he was wasted, and I was completely disguised. But you wouldn't know that. Of course, it doesn't really matter. But I would have been perfectly comfortable staying there and being a part of the melee and helping out and then organising stuff.
That is what I thought you'd do, actually. I thought you would stay up there and front it out. And, we saw smoke.
I think it's like guilt. It's like, I know, like, Delium certainly would have felt guilty. Gornoff is dead because of what we had to do. He would not have come out. So it was also guilt. And again, I just... what am I going to do? I don't want to be there.
Thing. It's for us setting those fires and us letting Medea go. Like, it's super our fault that he's dead.
In fairness, I didn't let Medea go. Just saying. I was making stew.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of guilt to it. So you just hang around and look at your guilt.
And also not to speak on behalf of Dolly, but like that seems very in keeping with what Dolly would do based on certain patterns that I've noticed is get out of there. It's not like stay and help. It's like get out of there.
Well, what help was there?
He was already dead.
Yeah, he was already dead, but we did. Like that's why we're all probably still alive. Is actually we are just mercenaries. Obviously we're stuck in the web for reasons, but what would we have? This guy helped us a couple of times. You feel guilty about it. We were on the mountain with him, but really we need to get out of there and not die. It was 6 of one and half of the other. Like on the one side, yeah, I agree with Dolly that we should have got out of there. On the other hand, felt coerced.
Sorry.
No, but as part of what we were talking about in here, it was like, well, what do you know? What did you know? Were you trying to...
I am very charismatic.
But it was that I sort of let it all out while we were in here. It's like, now you're trying to attack us.
Oh, yeah.
You said this, you agree, yeah, let's go back to Casper's. That would be great.
I only agreed. I didn't bring that up.
But it came down to thinking like, yeah, great idea. Maybe we should go back to Casper's. So to me, like, is it you're trying to get us out of there because you're trying to get us back to the hideout because you knew what would be there and you have had a conversation with probably one of the most powerful people in Reliquary that we were not privy to.
Listen, I agree. It doesn't look good for me.
When you laid it out, it was like, oh my God, we got to kill him.
So in my head, I was like, do I push back and be like, no, I want to go to Gornoth's body? But then at the same time, I didn't know what I was going to do there either. So it was like, no, I can understand why we'd go to a hideout. So let's do that.
Did you know? I mean, obviously you knew you had the whole thing planned. But were you hoping for us to go straight back there, or were there other things along the way?
I didn't think you'd go straight back there. Actually, like I said, I think in my head you might have. I think as a player sometimes, and if I was a player, I'd be going. It's less suspicious for us to stay and be part of the cleanup, because why would we leave if we've done nothing wrong? We'd want to stay. So if I was a player, I would have been fighting for the collective to stay. And so I kind of assumed that you might double think it like that. And that therefore, I mean, I hadn't got, like with all this stuff, I haven't got anything written. Like I haven't got, a sad breakfast the next morning with Brynhilda, although I do actually have a cook in Gornoth's household written. But, I don't have anything like that. I didn't know whether you would... I think if you didn't change the suggestion, if you just dropped suggestion on Brynhilda, I think Brynhilda would have sent her guards to go and get the garrison to help put the fires out. And I guess I thought you might do stuff like that. I didn't know whether you might, as mad as it sounds, like lay low in a tavern, but actually Casper's is the hideout is the place where you can lay low.
All Dolly cared about at that point was getting out of Dodge. There's guards everywhere. There's chaos all around. It's like we need to not be at the epicenter of where all these things are happening right now, and didn't care about anything else other than that. So I started thinking about, and that we're still in Barun and there's still stuff to do in Barun. But I kind of had, but by and large, the big story beats in my head. There's going to be they're going to be asked to do a jailbreak out. I never know if you're going to do these things. Like I don't, yes, you're in the web, but you always have the agency to be like, actually, the 5 of us are going to strike out on our own. It's possible. So I was like, well, I'll give him a jailbreak to do, and then I think the Spider Prince would want to see them for his reasons. And I also thought it was a fun way to kind of bring the main guy in, if you like. And then I knew at some point you'd see Gornoth, and obviously Gornoth's information doesn't change. Gornoth is just going to tell you the truth because it's the right thing to do.
It's the dwarven thing to do.
Yeah, it's the dwarven thing to do. And then I was like, I think... So Medea killing the others came much later in my head. I say much later. Obviously, we've had these minis ready since episode 5. But I've been thinking about the Barun arc since before we started. So I'm always like, I think of these as like little mini arcs or like mini chunks. So there's the chunk which is Deference, Mount Atria, Landslide, Jasmine, Forest. That's a chunk. And then there's the Barun chunk. And I'm kind of trying to think one ahead in the most oblique terms. But yeah, it was we're kind of about where I thought we'd be, I think. We're about in the situation that I thought we'd be. But, you're always doing stuff that I'm
not anticipate. I didn't think you'd try and talk to her at all. I didn't think that there would be any sort of negotiation or reasoning.
She's
but I guess
fun to talk to.
She is fun to talk to, and I guess because she's so unhinged, you're never quite sure whether you could just like. Actually, you might just weirdly get through to her. I think she thought you were quite interesting.
Yeah, I know. I made a point of kind of playing into that when we first met.
Yeah, but I thought that was a. We've not had a combat where you can't get out of a space, or where there's so much terrain to use and so many different things to do, and it felt like I know, it felt fun, and I thought Mark had just done an absolutely amazing job.
Oh my
it's
God,
brilliant.
it's
on
incredible.
all these minis. So for those of you who are listening, I said to him that I wanted to have this sense that like this apothecary hadn't been used for a long time, and so he's put cobwebs on everything. And if you look closely, you can see that where some of the bottles have started to degrade, there are potions that are leaking down the side of the shelves. It's really just like the level of detail is really, really cool. And then Medea, we talked a lot about like I wanted her to. The whole point of her is that you wouldn't walk past her in public and think, I bet she's an absolute killer. So the little thing with her, so the thing with her hiding a dagger behind her back, is really fun. Is really nice. And then actually, I mean, technically, the bodies on the floor aren't exactly how... I'd said that Juno had close-cropped red hair, but that's about as close as we can get.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like if you were fan casting Medea, it would be Julia Garner and Ozark. This is a very specific thing.
Or, the only other... Oh, yeah, that's cool.
She's
really
amazing.
Nice.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. So, shall I tell you guys what you get at level 5?
Yes.
So, obviously, you will all get, and we will roll the HP at the table at the beginning of the next session, because I think that's
Get
more
some.
fun. And,
Come on, Dolly.
Please give me
Come on, Dolly, the
So-
HP win.
The first, let's actually, I haven't got the bard up.
While you're doing that, thank you for my goggles, by the way. I didn't say it in the episode.
I was always
It's very exciting.
They were always like as soon as I found out what they did, I was like, oh well, I know where those are going to one of you two. Like,
I also like the idea of how goggles would fit on your head. Just want to
Yeah,
discuss that.
just
It's like
stretch them a
it's like
little
I've
bit.
got a dog
Sweet.
with like, you know, you've got like a pug maybe and it's got the eyes on the side of its head. Like how does doggles work?
I like the idea of-
And I feel like you've got doggles. They just wouldn't.
no, I like the idea of if he tries to use them, just doing.
Yeah, there's like a lot that you'd look at them like these are great, but my eyes are on the side of my head, and they weren't made for that.
Who would like to find out about what they get first?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. No. I was going to say first, not who would like to
Should we
find out.
move around the table?
Let's move around the table. So should we start with
Give me
wizards?
some good stuff.
So yours is probably the least interesting, but
It's not,
you
it's
get
not. We'll make it
you get
interesting.
2 third-level spell slots. So you previously have had 4 first, 3 second, and you now have 4 first, 3 second, 2 third. And third-level spells, like 5th level for me, is when as a player it gets really exciting because you can do like this is now like big boy shit. You know, this is big boy and girl and person shit.
I would like to say that I have been doing a lot of big boy shit.
You've been taking a lot of shits.
It's not quite the
I
same.
feel like I've been a big boy the whole time.
You have been.
So imagine how big I'll be.
I don't know how big you feel.
So also all of your proficiency bonuses go up by 1. So
Yeah.
all of your spell save DCs, all of your to hits, and all of your skills that you're proficient in goes up by a further 1. So your stealth must be like plus 10 now.
Yeah.
Flipping out.
Spoon carving, baby.
Absolutely. Spoon carving's plus 11.
proficiency is
Can I
so
say a really
useless.
cool thing that happens to me at the next level, which is this lovely cantrip that I got?
Yes.
I really love it. Basically, now that I'm at 5th level, I get to roll 2d12 off a
is so
cantrip.
So
Powerful
cantrips
cantrip.
scale up as well often.
ridiculous.
So things like firebolt, 1d10 and then it becomes 2d10 because otherwise you get to like
18 damage
20th
with a
level
cantrip.
and you're still only doing 1d10 with a cantrip and there's no
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, firebolt's 2d10.
So you get a plus, your proficiency bonus becomes plus 3 and you get 3rd level spells. Then let's go to Indelian. You, again, get a plus 3 on your proficiency and you get an extra attack. So you can attack with your sword, attack with your sword, attack with your dagger.
Yep.
Then you can action surge, attack with your sword, attack with your sword. I
Like a
think.
cloud of
I don't know if you
bleach.
can do the second on this and the action. Oh, because it's a full action.
Because it's now an attack. Every time you take the attack
I'm excited
action,
to miss all
you
5
get 2
rolls.
attacks. I might be wrong on that. I'm sure people will tell me if I am.
I will never hit. I've been rolling horribly.
So Kelnis, again, you get a plus 1 on your proficiency bonus, and you also have 2 third-level spells, so you keep the same amount of spells. Oh,
Just the spells arriving right now.
Spells in your inbox.
There they are.
So, you get quite a bit of stuff. Your sneak attack is now 3d6.
Hell yes.
Your proficiency bonus goes up, and you get uncanny dodge, which is something that Medea was using. Starting at 5th level, when an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to halve the attack's damage against you. There's a lot. I feel like rogues are quite stacked in lower levels, and the higher you get, like capstone, thing for so that your 20th level ability as a rogue is stroke of luck. If you miss, you can hit, or if you fail, you can get a nat 20, but you can only use it once. Do you know what I mean? So it's great, but it's not. Whereas in these low levels, you get cunning action at 2nd level where you can dash, disengage, or hide. You get your roguish archetype at 3rd level. You get an ASI at 4th level, uncanny dodge at 5th, expertise at 6th. You choose 2 more skill proficiencies and double your skill proficiencies in those. Then you get evasion where you can take half damage on a failure and no damage on a success on saving throws. Like you get really great stuff in these first 7 levels. And then the Bard, you obviously proficiency bonus goes up. You also get 2 3rd level spells. You know an extra spell. Your bardic inspiration is now a D8 rather than a D6, and you get font of inspiration, which is you regain all uses of bardic when you get a short rest, which is a lot of stuff. Bards are great.
Yeah, they are.
But it'll be fun because you know the more powerful you are, the more fun we can have, and the more difficult it becomes.
I love it.
So that'll be stuff for us to think about next time.
That's the thing, isn't it? You know, you level up, but
Everything else gets tougher.
Everything else gets harder as well.
Yeah, but there's just more interesting ways of doing stuff. I think the cool stuff is when I watch you guys make choices from stuff that I just didn't know you had. And then it's like, oh, we're doing that, that's cool. And I love the variety of it. We all have very different textures to the way that we play the game, and it's very fun.
Yeah.
I was pleased I got to use Summon Beast today. I was like,
that was fun. I don't know anything about that spell. I've never seen that spell before.
it's so cool.
And it was very handy.
Callum actually
Callum was
did a lot
great.
of
Yeah,
damage.
Because Callum was there for the entire time that Dolly was controlled by Medea, I think.
Yeah.
And actually, effectively, it brought an extra person in. Callum hits for a lot of damage.
Callum's
My
great.
D8 plus 4 plus proficiency. It's a lot of damage.
He's got more HP than most people around his table.
Yeah, he's got 30 HP.
Sorry.
Shots fired.
And at level 5 now, I think he'll be able to do 2 attacks. Because he can do multi-attacks, but it's the multi-attack thing only is he can take as many attacks as half of.
Your level rounded down.
Oh, no, I've got this wrong. No, sorry,
it's
I'm
the spells
wrong.
level
I'm wrong.
rounded down.
It's the spells level.
But it's say, for example, if you ever, I mean, not that you ever would, but if you cast a 9th level summon beast, which would be an insane thing to do, he could attack 4 times per round.
Yeah.
But that would be, you could also cast Wish at 9th level, so or Power Word Kill. But yeah, that was really fun. Like I really enjoyed having that extra thing in there. Like it just made it tricky, and like cluttering up the battlefield. Also, things like that are so useful for I know that you had a bit of a stinker because you were poisoned most of the time, but the ability to have someone that isn't one of you constantly in melee, meaning you constantly get sneak attack, is incredibly valuable. And this is the thing, you start to, I think, and you're finding this now. I mean, the fact that you say, Ben, I was surprised that, surprised they kept keeping me up. It's because everyone's figuring out what people need in order to, you're playing more coherently as a group. And I think that's one of the kind of joys of the whole thing. I mean, hopefully that's part of the fun of this campaign in particular, that we have a load of, not exclusively, but a load of new players or players who haven't played in a long time or maybe haven't played in this way, learning how to do it as your characters learn how to be a group.
Yeah, I think, Delian wouldn't have given you her potion because we're besties. But it's how you look at the battlefield. At the end of the day, you are able to do a lot of things and you are better off to the unit alive than you are dead.
I also think the group cohesion, and I think it's a really good thing, I think it's a really necessary thing. I feel like the group cohesion, of course there are still going to be moments where it doesn't feel this way, but the group cohesion is kind of improving. I feel like Radian a few sessions ago would have wanted to have had difficult conversations in the street while heading back from the burning of the buildings. Wouldn't have allowed I to take control of where he was going to go. And that you're all kind of, even now, you're all collectively going, I think we all need to sleep.
Yeah.
Rather than going, listen, let's thrash
Like
this
throwing-
out now,
yeah, throwing
exhausted
fingers
and
around.
you know what I mean? And I think, there is a point at which you're just you're a group who whether or not you're all best friends, you understand that your interests align, you understand that you're safer together, and that therefore it's hugely advantageous to you to not just constantly piss each other off.
Plus drive.
Let's try.
I'm with the removal of eyes.
I know.
Yeah.
What?
So that was a curveball.
Yeah. So, do you want to know what that was? That was essentially he'd spent the entire time in full tribe reactive mode, and he had an inability to process kind of the emotions of that moment, and it was all of the emotions of what he has lost and what he thinks he's got, and the idea of that being taken, but also the answers to his questions, but also this idea of new tribe, and it was a total, he didn't know how to deal with it, so his only reaction was to go up and inflict upon this person like something that he knew was like an ultimate kind of screw you. And it was just that. It was just a purely reactive.
Cold, man.
Yeah.
I liked the animal thing coming out with him as well. I really
Yeah.
liked you running on all fours. I
Yeah.
mean, mechanically it doesn't do anything, but I really like it as like a sort of signifier of emotional state. I thought it was great because I think I got in touch with Alex just before this, like before the session was like, just so you know, we're going to cut to I's reaction because you're the only one who's seen it. Not because, I mean, that was all I said, but just because you're going to need to carry the emotional weight of this rather than me just and describing it. But you know what I mean? And I thought it worked really, really well.
Yeah, it
I
did,
thought it was really effective. How was rolling a death save behind the screen? Is that your first? It's your first one?
3 of us.
I mean, yeah, it's a horrible, horrible feeling. I even felt as I rolled, I was like, okay, I'm gonna really give this a bit of a roll, And as I did it, I went. I kind of just that was a nat 20.
Where was that earlier?
But it just kind of flopped down my hand. I don't know what happened in that sort of mind muscle connection in that moment. It just kind of
So means no one's passed a death saving throw yet.
No.
You've all
All got a 4.
Didn't you? Did you fail yours as well when you were downed in the forest?
Doug got a 4. We all had
Where's
Everyone's gone
fours.
down.
No, me and
You
you.
and you haven't gone down, and Delian hasn't gone down. I'm surprised Delian hasn't gone down in a sense because you're just in the theory behind a fighter is actually that you probably will end up going down the most.
Tank.
Yeah.
The whole point is you are up front, but you could probably take a beating for the longest.
Yes, exactly that. Exactly.
But some of the beatings where I've been up front have been the hardest, and I could probably take 2 rounds at best.
Yes.
Which isn't exactly. It's not great.
No, but Radiant dropped to 1 HP in that as well, right? I mean, that was as close as you've come to.
Loved it. I just love putting him in situations where he's really weak. And I was surprised that people were kind of coming to his aid, really. I suppose probably because I said I got 1 HP.
But do you? Yeah, I mean, and
most of that was self-inflicted.
But do you feel Radiant clocked that? That people are helping him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens next, really.
It's so nice to get actually to use the minis again. They've been burning a hole. They've been burning a hole in the storage at Natural 6 Towers. But it was all worth it. It was all worth it. Right, are you fellas and lasses going to roll the dice? And I get to talk in my now traditional segment about what my favourite part of that episode was. I loved that I, the character, not the me, pulled the potions from the wall. I have had that mechanic, this idea that we're in an apothecary and therefore somewhere where potions might have expired and they've been there for a long time. There's a reason why Casper isn't completely stocked up on all these potions and why other people aren't touching them. And you rolled well on luck checks, actually, to use them. And I just thought, it's just very pleasing when something that you, as a DM, like I don't think I seeded that there were potions that you could use. I just said, there are potions on the wall. And I feel like session 1, session 2, you guys probably wouldn't have had the confidence to go, can I grab some of these bottles on the wall? And it's just indicative of, I think after session 3, I remember saying to you guys, you can't break the world. Like you can just try things. You can't break the world. It's my job to keep it kind of up around you. And that felt like a really good example of like, we've all been playing games where we're like, I wish I could take that thing off a shelf. And it's like, you can take that thing off a shelf. And you can try and use that thing off a shelf. And so that for me was just like a really satisfying thing that felt like a lot of fun. Right, how the hell did you roll your polies, you bunch of bastards, Ben?
I think I've actually got a record. 39.
Wow.
Is that the lowest?
That has got to be. Did you roll a 10 on your D10?
Yeah.
Oh, honey.
baby.
But sure, I'm not obsessed with listen, I don't need to
You
win to
love
feel
putting him in
satisfied.
situations where he feels weak.
It's about Radiant being weak today, and I was very weak with a very low 39.
What did you get, Holly?
98.
98 from the ridiculous to the sublime.
I got a 98 as well.
Oh, twinsies.
Yeah, we've like a bit like Doug's rolls are really interesting compared to mine. Was like it all sort of adds up to 98, and you've got
I've got an 80, an 11, a 3, and then 4 1s.
Oh, so you rolled really badly and also really well on your
Yeah,
D10.
that's about right.
D100.
that is about right.
What's
for
he
me.
got?
I don't know how to say this. I've broken a record.
Go on.
30.
I
literally was like,
You didn't even let Ben have it. It's so
I didn't want it. It's
unfair.
like breaking the world record, but then like
You're
it
saying
broken
it's
again
Eddie
the next
the
week.
Eagle. It's
Yeah.
like, you know.
yeah,
Wow.
30. Yeah.
What have you done?
This is
Have you
a
got
weird
even
one.
lower?
99.
So we have
One better.
So
That's
there,
a
there
really
are 3
weird
of you within 1,
Yeah.
and there are 2 of you that are separated
What
by.
are the dice trying to tell
What
us?
are they trying to tell us?
Oh my goodness! Well, they have their own
was
story to
ridiculous.
tell, and I suppose if you'd like to hear those stories, you're going to have to just bloody well come back for episode 9 of Natural
must.
6.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us for Action Search. We will see you very soon for yet more continuing adventures in, and I guess there's no finer way of saying it than this, the world of Reliquiae. Bye!